The Forbidden Forest was a place that no one dared to venture into. Its dense canopy of trees and thorny bushes made it impossible for anyone to navigate through. But that didn't stop our protagonist, a young adventurer who was eager to explore the unknown. Rumors and legends had been passed down for generations about a mythical dragon that guarded a treasure deep within the forest. Many had tried to find it, but all had failed. The dragon was said to be fierce and unstoppable, breathing fire and causing chaos wherever it went. But our protagonist was determined to see for themselves if the dragon was real or just a legend. With nothing but a backpack and a map, they set out on a journey that would change their life forever. The young adventurer pushed through the thick undergrowth of the Forbidden Forest, determined to find the mythical dragon and the treasure they were guarding. The forest was dark and foreboding, with twisted tree trunks and branches that seemed to reach out and grab at the adventurer as they passed. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and rotting leaves, and strange, eerie noises echoed through the trees. The adventurer had been walking for hours, their feet sore and their clothes torn from the thorns and brambles. But they didn't give up. They pressed on, following the map that they had painstakingly drawn up before setting out on their journey. As the sun began to set and the shadows grew longer, the adventurer stumbled upon a clearing. In the center of the clearing, they saw a cave entrance. The adventurer's heart pounded with excitement and fear as they realized that this might be the lair of the mythical dragon. Drawing their sword, the adventurer cautiously approached the entrance to the cave. As they got closer, they could hear a low rumbling sound coming from within. They took a deep breath and stepped inside. The cave was dark and cold, with jagged rocks jutting out from the walls and ceiling. The adventurer's eyes slowly adjusted to the dim light, and they saw a glint of something shiny in the distance. They cautiously approached the source of the glint and saw that it was a pile of treasure, just as the legends had said. But as the adventurer reached out to touch the treasure, a deafening roar shook the cave. A gust of hot air blew past them, and they realized with horror that the dragon had awoken from its slumber. The adventurer froze in terror as they heard the dragon's roar. They could feel the heat of the dragon's breath as it approached them, its eyes glowing in the darkness. But as the dragon got closer, it stopped and tilted its head, as if it was trying to figure out who this brave adventurer was and why they had come. The adventurers slowly lowered their sword and stepped back, hoping that the dragon would not attack. For a long moment, there was silence in the cave, broken only by the sound of the adventurer's racing heartbeat. And then, to the adventurer's surprise, the dragon spoke. "Greetings, adventurer," the dragon said in a deep, rumbling voice. "What brings you to my lair?" The adventurer was shocked to hear the dragon speak, but they quickly gathered their courage and explained their quest to find the treasure and the dragon that guarded it. The dragon listened patiently, and then it spoke again. "I see," the dragon said. "You are brave to come here, but you should know that this treasure is not for the taking. It is my duty to guard it, and I will not let it fall into the wrong hands." The adventurer nodded, understanding the dragon's duty. They asked if there was any way to peacefully take the treasure, and the dragon considered for a moment before answering. "There is one way," the dragon said. "If you can prove to me that you are worthy, I will allow you to take a portion of the treasure. But be warned, if you fail, you will face my wrath." The adventurer nodded, accepting the challenge. And so began a series of tests, each one more difficult than the last. The adventurer had to dodge fireballs, cross treacherous chasms, and solve riddles. But with each test, they proved their worthiness to the dragon. Finally, the dragon was satisfied. "You have proven yourself to be a true adventurer," the dragon said. "I will allow you to take a portion of the treasure. But remember, this treasure comes with a great responsibility. Use it wisely, and do not let it corrupt you." The adventurer thanked the dragon and took a small portion of the treasure, feeling grateful for the experience and the lessons they had learned. And with that, they left the cave, ready to continue their journey with newfound knowledge and a newfound respect for the mythical dragon. As the adventurer made their way out of the cave, they turned back to the dragon and asked, "Why did you decide to speak to me? You could have easily attacked me and protected the treasure." The dragon let out a deep sigh and replied, "I have been guarding this treasure for many years, and I have seen many adventurers try to take it. But most of them were greedy and only cared about the treasure, not realizing the responsibility that comes with it. But you, adventurer, were different. You showed courage, determination, and most importantly, you showed respect for me and my duty." The dragon continued, I was not always a guardian of the treasure. Once, I was just like any other dragon, seeking treasure and causing chaos wherever I went. But then, I met a wise old dragon who taught me the true meaning of duty and responsibility. He showed me that the power of the treasure can be a great force for good, if used wisely. And so, I took up the task of guarding it, hoping to find an adventurer worthy of its power. The adventurer listened to the dragon's tale with rapt attention, realizing that the dragon was not just a fierce creature, but a wise and noble guardian as well. As the adventurer made their way back through the Forbidden Forest, they thought about the dragon's words and the lessons they had learned. They knew that the treasure they had taken came with a great responsibility, and they promised to use it wisely and for the greater good. And so, the adventurer returned home, with a newfound respect for the power of treasure, and the wisdom of the mythical dragon that guarded it. As the adventurer returned home, they carried with them a small portion of the treasure from the Forbidden Forest. They knew that this treasure came with a great responsibility, and they vowed to use it wisely. Over time, the adventurer became known as a hero in their community. They used the treasure to help those in need, funding schools and hospitals, and supporting local charities. The adventurer's reputation grew, and many people looked up to them as a shining example of what a true hero should be. But the adventurer never forgot the lessons they had learned from the dragon. They knew that the power of the treasure could be a double-edged sword, and they always made sure to use it for the greater good. Years passed, and the adventurer grew old. They knew that their time was coming to an end, and so they called for their family and friends to gather around them. They knew that they had one last responsibility to fulfill. As their loved ones gathered around, the adventurer revealed the treasure they had kept hidden away for so long. They explained the story of the dragon and the Forbidden Forest, and how they had been entrusted with this great responsibility. The adventurer then passed the treasure on to their loved ones, instructing them to continue using it for the greater good. They knew that their legacy would live on, and that the power of the treasure would continue to help those in need for generations to come. And so, the story of the mythical dragon and the treasure of the Forbidden Forest lived on, as a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility, and that even the most fearsome creatures can be wise and noble guardians. With their responsibility fulfilled, the adventurer felt a sense of peace and contentment. They knew that their time had come to an end, and they were ready to depart this world. As their family and friends gathered around them, the adventurer closed their eyes and took one last deep breath. They felt a sense of release as they let go of all their worries and fears. And then, with a final sigh, the adventurer passed away. But even in death, the adventurer's legacy lived on. Their family and friends continued to use the treasure for the greater good, building schools, hospitals, and community centers in the adventurer's name. The adventurer's story became legend, passed down from generation to generation, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps. And in the Forbidden Forest, the mythical dragon continued to guard the treasure, watching over it with a sense of pride and satisfaction. The dragon knew that their duty had been fulfilled, and that the adventurer had proven worthy of the treasure's power. And so, as the sun set on the Forbidden Forest, the dragon let out a mighty roar, a tribute to the adventurer who had shown such bravery and wisdom. And then, with a final flap of its wings, the dragon disappeared into the depths of the forest, its duty fulfilled, its tale forever etched in the annals of myth and legend. As time passed, the tale of the mythical dragon and the treasure of the Forbidden Forest became a legend that was told to children all over the world. The story had become a symbol of bravery, wisdom, and the power of responsibility. People would often look up at the stars and wonder if the dragon still roamed the skies, watching over them. But even though the dragon and the adventurer were long gone, their legacy lived on. The treasure that the adventurer had taken from the Forbidden Forest was used to create a legacy of good that continued to grow and help people all over the world. As the years passed, people came from far and wide to visit the Forbidden Forest, hoping to catch a glimpse of the mythical dragon that had once roamed its skies. Some claimed to have seen the dragon, soaring through the air with its majestic wings spread wide. And even though the dragon was gone, people still felt its presence, as if it was watching over them and guiding them towards a life of responsibility, wisdom, and courage. And so, the tale of the mythical dragon and the treasure of the Forbidden Forest continued to inspire and delight people for generations to come, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, and that even the most fearsome creatures can be wise and noble guardians.